Go ahead, Rick.
Okay, my name is Rick Leaf. I'm Chair of the Master Plan Implementation Committee. This open meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29th, 2023. This meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. All members of the Master Plan Implementation Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The Act allows the Master Plan Implementation Committee to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. I'll now take attendance. Julianne Hirsch.
Here.
Amy Paretsky. Amy, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Millie Milton.
Here.
Ashley Davies. I don't see her yet. Tracy sent me an email, said she's going to be a little bit late. Fran Baxter.
Here.
Gene Kennedy sent me an email, said he's going to not be attending tonight. Gene Cahill.
Here.
Rick Leaf is here. John Campbell.
Here.
And Jen Tolman. I saw Jen's name on the list. Are you still there, Jen?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, welcome. Okay, first item on the agenda is an update on the presentation that Lori and I made to the select board Monday night regarding the letter that we sent them. Briefly, we did a quick history of the committee and the master plan, the fact that we had created this matrix, which was sent to the select board, which indicated where we stood on the different recommendations in the master plan. I had mentioned that for the most part, we were making steady progress on the master plan, and in certain items, like the dog park and the purchase of 432 Whitney Street and a lot of the downtown beautification that's happening were all things that were recommended in the master plan. And we then sort of concentrated on the 7 bullets that were in the letter talking about areas that we thought needed decisions made. I sort of lumped the first 3 bullets together into things regarding downtown revitalization and basically made the point that a key decision needs to be where we're going to stand in terms of locating the town offices. I mentioned that the 4 West Main Street location and then heading down Blake Street back to Pierce Street and the fire station makes up one of the catalyst areas that came out of the master plan revitalization study. And if it turns out it's decided not to put the town offices in either the current fire station or 4 West Main, that allows us to then do some planning as to what to do down there. I also mentioned that with the recent announcement about the sale of the fire station on Church Street and the 2 abutting lots and the proposal to put those together into some sort of a mixed-use facility, that sort of sets the stage for some other revitalization north of Route 20, and that sort of folds right into Pierce Street and back down Blake, back to the old town hall. And so there's a real opportunity here to start to put all that together, but really can't make any headway on that until it's decided whether any of the town office functions are going to go in any of those buildings or not. We also talked about having to make decisions about housing and the amount of housing that needs to be in the downtown. And also, we talked about the need to do some updated design review standards to sort of define the look and feel. I then turned it over to Lori to talk about the other bullets, which all had to do with economic development. I don't know, Lori, do you want to summarize what you told them about economic development?
Yeah, so I just tried to mention some of the other economic development related items that are in the master plan. Of course, the talk about the economic development coordinator, also about whether there is interest in revitalizing or doing additional development to kind of jumpstart the local economy, enhance it. So just kind of pinpointed some of those recommendations and mentioned that those are things that would be helpful to be discussed during that economic development forum or whatever we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so we told them that it wasn't the point of this our presentation on Monday night to actually reach any decisions about any of this stuff, only to see if the select board would agree that a meeting should be called jointly with the select board and the planning board. And the planning board had recommended that the zoning board of appeals also be included, that a joint meeting be held, and there was unanimous agreement by the select board to do that. Time frame seems to be talking about maybe in October. There's a lot of things on their plate coming up over the next month or so, but they talked about maybe doing something in October. We also talked about having someone or some organization facilitate this meeting, maybe the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission or something to that effect, and they were also agreeable to that. So the way it was left was that there was going to be a decision made as to when this meeting could be held and how it could be facilitated. I know, Lori, you've got a couple ideas about that, either between CMR, and I can't even pronounce the initials properly for Central Mass Regional Planning, either them or we've got, if we have some hours with them, or we've also got some money left over from VHB from the time they did the master plan. So maybe you could speak to that for a minute.
Yeah, so as part, so before I came on the scene, Kathy Joubert had signed a contract with VHB on master plan implementation activities and try and kind of help this group figure out how to accomplish some of the tasks. And there's quite a bit of money left over in that line item. I believe it's over $7,000. So I thought that this may be an opportunity, since VHB actually was the primary author of the master plan, they might be able to facilitate some of the kind of sticking points having to do with economic development and help us get to some sort of consensus. So we could either go with CMRPC to assist us with that endeavor, or we could go with VHB. So well, one of the challenges with CMRPC is we do have a certain number of hours that we get per year for like technical assistance. So I'm not sure if this type of facilitation activity would be an eligible project for those hours. So certainly I can explore that. If it isn't eligible, then we would have to come up with funds to pay CMRPC. And right now I have no money available because it's committed to other planning projects. So that would be a bit of a sticky point. So then, you know, having VHB, having the funds already allocated to VHB seems like a fantastic solution.
I'd be interested in comments from this committee about those two alternatives. If anybody have any particular feeling one way or the other as to which way we should go? Floor is open for comments.
I would ask you, Rick and Fran, because you guys work closer with VHB. Do
Yeah.
you feel like this is something that you would want them to do?
Yeah, I was saying to Lori that, they did an okay job. There were things that we weren't happy with them about. But I think for something like this, where it'd be just a question of helping to lead the meeting, raise the points, get discussion going, and they obviously have good background on the plan itself. I don't know, I think this is something they could pull off and be helpful on. I don't know, Fran, what's your feeling about that?
Well, I mean, I enjoyed working with them. I thought that, they did a good job with helping us with the master plan, which was much bigger than what we're asking for. Part of me thinks though that I'm gonna do the same thing. Central Mass Planning, Regional Planning, they're more familiar, with our region, right? And what's working in other communities. And maybe this is a time where we should be not comparing ourselves to others, but seeing what does and doesn't work around us versus something more globally, which is what they helped us with when we did the master plan. But either way, I think having a facilitator is a good way of, utilizing all of our time and energy.
Any other comments?
Well, maybe we could leave it that Lori reaches out to both to see if they normally do this kind of thing. So, the select board just had a meeting to set goals, and we had a facilitator there, and was, that person sent out questions ahead of time, and really, had us, he kept us moving in a direction, a positive direction. And I don't know if either of these organizations actually do this as a normal part of their services. So I would say if Lori could reach out and find out, I guess first if that is in their purview, and then to figure out the hours that were owed or not owed. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah. I think another thing would be maybe Lori, if you could, while Tim is going to be here until October, if you could work with him or have him work with the select board and the planning board to choose a date so that we could also communicate to these people, this is the time frame we're looking at doing this. We'd also know what their availability is. So I think it'll be important to sort of pick the date when we're going to hold this joint meeting. So maybe that's something that you can work through Tim on getting a date, fairly quickly. And then I agree with Julianne, if you can communicate with both of these people and say, this is the date we're looking at doing this meeting on. Do you have availability? If you do, do you have the skill or the desire to do something like this?
Yeah, and also when I did discuss this with the planning board, they felt strongly that the zoning board of appeals should also be brought to the table because they permit a lot of the commercial industrial projects in town.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good idea. That was originally something that I wanted to do anyway.
Yeah.
So.
All right, I'd say getting a date for the meeting agreed upon fairly soon, and then reaching out to both of these and see from your perspective who you think could do a better job. And then if it turns out it's Central Mass Planning, trying to figure out a way to see if we have any support due us from them that we could use for this particular project.
It might take a little while to get this moving. So I know what we were talking about is like October, November timeframe.
Yeah.
That's what we discussed with the selectmen.
Yeah.
So I think that's a reasonable approach because also the consultants will need some time to plan it. So it's not something I spent some time on VHB's website, and it definitely talked about facilitation. but it may not be something that they could just whip out. You know,
Yeah.
they'll have to familiarize themselves with the town and the issues and figure out a plan of action for proceeding with the form.
Well, like I said, let's see if we can't get a date. You know, I think we had, you know, a lot of positive reaction Monday night at the select board meeting to going forward and doing this. So before other things sort of get in the way and it gets pushed out and pushed out and pushed out, if we could just get a date, you know, committed to fairly soon on the heels of our discussion Monday night, that'd be a good thing to do. So like I said, maybe Tim working with Mitch and you working with the planning board and the zoning board, we can fairly quickly come up with a date. And then in the background, you know, decide how the best method of facilitation would be. Any other
Sounds good.
questions or comments about this before we move on? Once again, we thought it was a successful presentation. The select board liked the matrix. They were impressed with the fact we have one and we're keeping track of what's going on, and that there were a whole number of things on that matrix either shown as being completed or in progress or, you know, ongoing kind of thing. So I think in general, making good progress. Okay, next item on the agenda is an update on downtown beautification activities. I know, Julianne, you wanted Gary Phillips to talk a little bit tonight with you about some of the things they've been doing and other potential things. So I think I saw that Gary is logged on. So maybe Julie, if you want to open up this topic, and Gary, if you want to unmute yourself and talk about this a little bit.
Well, you know, I think I've mentioned a few times at these meetings that Gary has become extremely knowledgeable in native plants, and I don't even know how it all started, but I guess between Lori, Amy, Gary, and myself, we looked at the downtown area, and so there's another term for the strip between a sidewalk and a street, and I've read that it can be referred to as the natural strip, where, you know, sometimes it's just weeds and sometimes it is just a beautiful little garden. And I reached out to really, I would consider him the native plant authority in town. I hope you've all had a chance to visit Watson Park and see what he's done there. And you know, I thought it'd be great for you all to hear from Gary the amount of work that this really was. I mean, and Gary, I'm going to turn it over to you now, starting with, you know, the soil sample and the you know, and then the rototilling and everything else. So if you wouldn't mind telling us the, you know, the work that's involved, the care that's involved, and what you know, other places that you have your eye on maybe in town to do something, and the support that we would need.
Sure. Thanks, Julianne. I'm Gary Phillips. I'm resident in Northborough for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. And it's a new hobby, native plants. 4 years ago, I got permission from Conservation Commission to install a garden at Watson Park. Very successful. A year after that, got permission to take over part of the field and install a meadow. So now we have a native plant pollination garden, native plant meadow. It won the Tower Hill Community Green Award this year, which was really big success story for the pollinators and for Northborough. It's the first time Northborough has been recognized by Tower Hill with that award. So the downtown part, we had two areas scoped out that we could install native plants. One was at Richdale's, where we did install, and the other was the gas station on the opposite corner. Forget the name of it, but
The mobile one?
Yeah,
Yes.
the mobile station.
but there was a communication issue, and the lady there thought we wanted her to install plants. So she planted that one. So we decided to focus only on Richdale's. And the strategy was to get a soil sample, because these are there's a term for this, another term for this kind of location. It's called a hell strip. And it's called a hell strip because it's hard to grow plants right at the road because with the salt trucks in the winter, it's a
Mm.
very sandy soil. So I got this native plant, a friend made a native plant salt tolerant list. And I scrubbed that list for plants that I have in my garden. And we transplanted. So what you see at Richdale's and everything you see at Watson Park was no funding. I grow from seed and I teach people how to grow from seed. I have workshops at the library on seed collecting, seed cleaning, and then also how to sow them from seed. But this one at Richdale's, we got a soil sample and sent it to UMass Amherst. The report showed what nutrients it was lacking, and we amended with the rototiller. So we put down fertilizer, rototilled, removed the weeds that were there, and then we let that sit and germinate, the seed bank germinate for a couple months until it was time to transplant. And we think we hand weeded from there, but the idea was we were going to rototill again just to knock down the seed bank, but there wasn't that much anyway. And also, if you remember the project when all those downtown roads were reconfigured a bit, that's new soil. So the soil wasn't that bad. The soil is what, 8 years old?
Mm.
When was that big project down there? 10 years at the most.
10, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, if you look at it, it was really successful. We hand weed once a week. We water if it doesn't rain. We've had to water, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times, which is not a big ask. These are native plants, so after this first year, we really won't need to water because they're adapted for the rains and droughts that we get. So it's a low maintenance. They're really pretty. We chose only plants that are short because we didn't want anything tall and floppy in that location. And yeah. What
I
else,
think it looks
Julianne?
beautiful, Gary.
It
And
really does.
Julianne, yeah, you did a fabulous job. I was looking at it today when I was stopped at a light, and I'm like, wow, it just looks phenomenal, especially the planter in the center. It just
Mhm.
it goes together really nicely.
I actually have a before and after I can show quickly. It's amazing. If you see the before and after, it
Yeah.
was all Julianne and Gary. They did an amazing job. I was just
I
finding my
cannot
pictures
take-
super fast.
I cannot take credit for this. Gary led me through the whole thing. He's been doing the bulk of the weeding and the watering. And, he's kind to say we, but it's a lot. It was a lot on him. A lot.
Okay.
Oh gosh,
Right.
that's the before.
So that's the before. And that was
Right.
like early this year. The before. And then you look at the after. And my pictures aren't even as good as when you're there,
Yeah,
That's crazy.
but
That's a-
they've really bloomed and it's amazing the difference.
that's a phenomenal job.
Wow.
And I heard the Ridgedale Farm guys really loves it, right? He always comes out, he loves it. But when you see the before, you're like, wow.
Gary, would you
Crazy.
agree with me that he's very enthusiastic about it and is very kind? He always comes out and asks if we need water, and Gary suspects that he's been doing a little watering too. But I just want to point out also that sometimes when people think native, they think that it's not ornamental enough. But Gary's choice of plants here is just so beautifully natural, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Gary, how did you get those to grow and fill in so quickly? Is it fertilizer that you used, or
No.
were they already established in your garden and you transplanted?
They were transplants. They weren't grown from seed this year, so they're at least a year old. This is at least 2 years old.
Wow.
That's why. And, but so that's one idea, is to thin plants out from gardens. That's the quick way. Another way is to plant from seed. And at Watson Park, I collect seed from in the fall. We're gonna have so much seed. So I'm trying to figure out where in town, or who would like seeds in Northborough. Where can we just sprinkle seeds and see what happens? And for example, on Route 20 heading towards Marlboro, there's a lot of unmowed. I don't know if it's probably state property because it's on Route 20, but it's poison ivy. It's not mowed. It's not maintained. It's a good place to just put the native seeds and see what happens.
I would love to see more plantings in the mulch area in front of CVS too. And
Mhm.
I know Amy, you and Julianne had spoken with the manager,
Mhm.
and he was open to having more plantings in that area, wasn't he?
Yep.
He was, but Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he say that he had to go to the owner or CVS Corporation? And
It's gonna go to the regional manager and yeah, get money. But I bet if we went and showed him this picture, because I don't think CVS really cared what he did, but he said he had no budget to do anything. So I think if we went back and talked to him and showed him these pictures before and after, I bet they would allow it. But I think it's worth an ask, because I was thinking the same place, that this would be amazing in front of CVS, and it's such a big place, such a big parcel.
To do something like this or just sprinkle seeds? I thought that's what he was asking about. It's just because you'd have to redo the soil there too, right?
I don't think you really have to redo the soil unless the DPW is using salt on the sidewalks. Because that planting bed in between the parking lot and the sidewalk is pretty large.
Okay, yeah.
So I imagine that it was done as part of the downtown project that Gary was talking about like 10 years ago. So if the soil was pretty good over here, I imagine it's pretty good over there.
There's also that one area that is between the road and the sidewalk, has guardrail on it on Route 20 heading west, right around the Dunkin' Donuts area, that is pretty, I don't know if that's town owned or not, but it's pretty unmowed. And it's pretty raggedy looking.
Another candidate for right downtown is just here at the railroad tracks where you turn into the library. That's another good.
Oh, the Patty Lane.
Yeah, but even before that, right at the railroad tracks, I don't know if it just looks bad.
Yeah, that's where we put the planter in an attempt to kind of mask some of the mess there.
Well, would you be interested, Gary, in continuing to do some work with us in the downtown area on some of these areas we're talking about, depending on what's available, what you could find, or if CVS allows us to go in there and do some work on that area in front of their store? Is that something you'd be interested in staying involved with?
Yeah, sure. And we could even use Watson Park as a feeder, split, divide plants there. They're all the natives that we want. And almost all these are at Watson Park too. We could divide and transplant and just keep doing that.
I'm sure we could get volunteers to help with planting to kind of lighten the load too.
I think people would be happy to do that. Such an instant gratification.
Also,
It's Very good.
with the Watson Park, the way we put that in is I did workshops at the library, and each seed pack was split to 2 milk jugs. And the ask was, you keep 1 milk jug for yourself and donate 1 back to the project. If you want, we could do a campaign and do like that, have town people grow 2 milk jugs and they donate 1 back to wherever we want to beautify.
It's a great idea.
I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
a
a great
great
way to
idea.
get public participation.
Harry, I
People
wanted
would
to
love
ask
that.
you, have you
Yeah,
seen
please. Oh, sorry.
Maynard downtown has planted pollinator plants throughout the beds in a municipal parking lot, And they also have a lot of signage, and I think the signage is really effective for educating people about what's growing there and why. And it's a really beautifully landscaped area.
I've not seen Maynard downtown.
I like the sign idea. So people, kind of become more aware of how beautiful native plants can be and their benefits. Could,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a great idea. We could do like a little interpretive sign or just kind of explaining what some of the species are in the planting bed.
mhm.
We might be able to score that as part of our downtown phase 1 streetscape project too.
I really like the idea of, getting the word out that this could be a participatory project for townspeople if they'd like to be involved in helping with growing seed and helping to see some of the stuff they're doing take root in the downtown and beautify the downtown. It sort of gets the word out that we're continuing to work on this, and it also gets, more people from the town involved. So I think that's a good idea also. I don't know,
I think
Julian, do
Gary-
you?
I just want to quickly say, sorry, Rick. Gary, be sure to apply for another grant again this year from the Cultural Council. And I think when you do your workshops, we can, or we, meaning Cultural Council and other people, can certainly help advertise that a little bit better and help you with that push. So to Rick's point, then more people would be knowledgeable about it and want to get involved. I think there are a lot of people who have overgrown all kinds of beautiful flowers and hosta and things in their yard that could be split, and they'd probably be happy to donate them to the downtown or to other gardens in town. Like advertising and getting the word out could be really big.
Yeah, I agree.
I liked how Rick used the words take root. It's a good marketing for
Yeah.
the plants.
Well, Julian, could you and Amy and Gary, continue to work on this in the background, see what you might want to do, and come up with some other ideas, or if you need, Lori's help as far as to what extent the town has to be involved in this. But I think there's a lot of good ideas we talked about tonight. If you guys can take it forward another step, see where we end up.
Yes, Gary, are you? I'm very willing to work with you. I know that you give me credit for this, but you've really been the person behind it. So let's meet offline and come up with a calendar. What do you think?
Yeah, it sounds great.
All right, Gary, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and thank you for all you're doing to help beautify the downtown. It's definitely it's kind of our goal until we can do something more significant around revitalization and different kinds of shops and restaurants and things like that. But in the meantime, anything we can do to make the downtown more attractive and to get more people involved is a good thing. And I know Jen and the Cultural Council have a bunch of ideas of things they'd like to do downtown. So there's a lot of things we can keep working on until we finally get to something more major, like, different kinds of businesses and redeveloping buildings and things like that. A lot we can do in the meantime. So this is all great stuff. So thank you very much again. We really appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, plus what I love is that there's no funding involved. There's no town money, DPW money. So that'll go a long way for the people who see it to know. And if it's a temporary thing and something changes and we have to take a garden out for whatever reason, we just transplant it, we're not out anything.
Sure.
Can I just bring up one other topic? Because I really want to give credit to Jean Cahill and Gary and their group that are cleaning up invasive plants in town. That talk about another group that's working really hard to tackle that problem, but also make some of our trails more pleasant and beautiful. So is there a name for that group, Jean?
Yeah, it's done through the citizens group called Sustainable Northborough, and we just organize through Facebook postings, and we've gotten as many as 35 people out to help, but we're dwindled down, of course, after the first event to smaller groups, but we have made inroads with Gary's help and with other committed, what we're calling ourselves our weed warriors, because there's a regional group that is led by organizations through ORS and other regional land trusts called SISMA, and they are a regional invasive plant reporting and advocate and removal group. And so they train teams of weed warriors, and we now have a trained team and are able to really make inroads. And we've done a lot to the Meadowbrook Trailhead to improve it. It used to be a dumping ground, and it has now been all of the dumped material from people's lawns and backyards have been pulled out of the woods and hauled away with thanks to the DPW. And we have actually saved trees that look like they were being killed by English ivy. We've gotten the ivy off, and that was just such a revelation to see the viability beneath all of that that growth that will actually strangle and kill trees. So we're already making progress, but there's a lot more work to do, and the town is intending to do this professionally. We're just getting it started.
Cool. Amy, do you have a comment?
No, I'm all set, sorry.
Okay. Well, once again, thanks to everybody who's working on this, and let's keep working here. The more we can do about this, and the more we can get the town involved, the better. It'll just sort of set the stage for bigger things we can do in the future. So thanks again. Okay, moving on to the next item. This is an update from Lori on the RFP that she sent out for the streetscape project down Blake Street to towards Pierce Street. So you want to give us an update on that, Lori?
Actually, before we move on to that, I have an update on another beautification project for the downtown. So Amy, if you could just unshare, and then I'd like to share. So the selectmen very generously allocated some money for seating improvements in the downtown. Or seating, I should say. So
okay,
picnic
okay.
tables and benches and the like. So Scott Charpentier and I got together and found two different locations in the downtown that we thought could benefit from seating. One of which is this beautiful area in front of 4 West Main Street. Let's see if I can, for some reason, I'm having trouble scrolling. Oh, there we go. So this area right here is so lovely, especially this year. So the garden club has really knocked themselves out this year with the plantings. They look absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered that why there's no seating here so that people can kind of sit, because it's kind of private, and gaze on this beautiful little garden. So one of the ideas is to do curved black benches along the sides here. And then also to do some matching backless benches on just off of this brick walkway in front of 4 West Main. So there would be one located kind of in the center here, where folks would be able to enjoy the shade of this lovely copper beech. And then there'd be a corresponding one on the other side. And that's one of the projects. And then the other one is picnic tables on the common. So there's this lovely area behind the garden that's isolated and shady that we thought would be a fantastic location for 3 picnic tables. So one of them would be ADA accessible picnic table. So the idea is to do a concrete walkway and then to do a concrete pad and have the 3 picnic tables. So the benefit of putting the picnic tables in this location is that it's kind of, I'm going to share another picture. It's kind of off the beaten path. Oh, where is it? I can't see it here. Maybe oh, sorry. Maybe I closed it down. So let me open that up again. All right, here we go. All right, so this location, so wanted to pick a location that wouldn't interfere with like Apple Fest and people playing Frisbee or doing special events in the grassy areas in these circles. So thought that this would be the best location. And today, Scott and I were talking about doing the shape reminiscent of the shape of the concrete pad over here. So there would be symmetry. So that is the idea. And then oh, this is the quote we got. I just want to show you the bench that we're looking at. So I'm gonna have to stop share again and share again. Not the best at sharing. Probably an easier way to do that. But this is the curved bench we were looking at for that cobblestone area.
Yeah, I
That's
like that.
curved. So something that's really, really classy.
Yeah.
And the Dumore benches are top of the line. And I thought that this would be a good way to set the stage for our Phase 1 streetscape project. So when we go forward with that project, hopefully we can do some seating that matches or is similar, corresponds well to what we're gonna put at 4 West Main. So
That's pretty.
just wanted to share with you that project. And unfortunately, just those things right there are about $17,000 delivered. So that's pretty much all we could do for 25,000 because we have to pour concrete pads to accommodate the benches and the picnic tables. So even though 25,000 sounds like a lot, it really doesn't go very far.
Can I
Which
ask
is
about,
that one bench? Do you know?
How much is that one bench?
Yeah,
I can tell you by looking at, let's see, am I still sharing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me stop sharing.
I'm just wondering, would they ever go out for like, there are always families that want benches with the plaque on it. Would they ever go out to see if anyone was willing to buy a bench, whether it's a company or a family? Or
Well,
is that
these
not fair?
ones-
Because then there's one beautiful bench with a family's name on it and everybody will say, oh, I wanted that. I don't know.
Yeah, there are possibilities of getting sponsors.
Mhm.
But I was not thinking about that here. So the price of these benches, the curved ones in particular, oh, and this also includes trash receptacles.
Mhm.
So there would be a trash receptacle in the area at 4 West Main, and then there would be another one at the picnic tables. So the curved benches, 2 of them are $5,030, and 2 of the 6-foot long backless benches are $3,830. So that's combined.
But that doesn't include the concrete.
It does not. Nope. And the delivery costs are huge. So that includes the cost of delivery.
Lori, I was going to ask about, we have kind of a mixture of pavements at that park. There's asphalt. I think there was supposed to be brick, but we didn't get brick, and now we're going to put in concrete. Would something like stone dust or another pavement be as even like better or more permeable, but also, you know, longer lasting potentially and cheaper?
Well, I had talked to Scott about stone dust, and he was adamantly opposed to the stone dust. It is ADA accessible, but it ends up being a maintenance nightmare for the DPW.
Hmm.
We could have gone with the asphalt, but personally, I thought that the asphalt looks cheap. So he was in agreement of going with the concrete. And it would match, that area by the pergola, which has concrete. The porous pavers would be like a nightmare as far as install. So I'd be concerned about doing that. It would probably also be more expensive. And like I said, we only have 25 grand.
And for by the fountain on 4 West Main, would they be bolted into the brickwork there, or what's that?
No, that I was a little bit disappointed about. Because I was hoping that it could be installed into the cobblestone, and they said no. They being Scott. So he said that the benches are too heavy, and they wouldn't fasten properly into the ground.
Hmm.
So in order to bolt them into the ground, they really have to be on a solid level surface. So he would do the concrete there.
So you take out those bricks?
You'd take out the bricks just where the curved benches would be. I mean, maybe there's a possibility of just doing, like little concrete areas right where they're going to be bolted in.
The footing.
Yeah, instead of like doing an entire curved concrete area so you can
Hmm.
preserve as much cobblestone as possible. I can talk to him about that.
And why, excuse me, why do the picnic tables have to be on anything? I mean, picnic tables go on grass.
Because, well, number one, maintenance purposes. So if you have them on grass, and Scott and I did discuss this, the ADA accessible picnic table has to be on an ADA accessible path. So that one would definitely need to be on some sort of hard surface. But these picnic tables are several £100. So when they go to mow the lawn, they're not going to want to shove the picnic tables aside or weed whack around the picnic tables. It's just not going to work from a maintenance perspective.
And everything is on this metal, those metal benches. We wouldn't want to be interested in like a Trex or something else. You're all on the metal. They're kind of, in my opinion, I think they're kind of ugly down at 135. I wish there was another option. Is there any other sort of prettier
Really?
benches, like a garden?
You don't
I
like
don't
the
like 'em.
black benches?
I don't. I don't like the green that are down there. I don't find them comfortable and I don't like them. But I
They're
mean,
not
like,
green though. That was the black curved metal park bench.
okay. I just didn't know if like, sometimes a garden bench is more like wood or vintagey or
Teak.
Trex or something,
Trex or
like a cottage
Yeah.
bench is not
Yeah.
hardcore metal bolted into the ground. It's kind of sad to see the Adirondack chairs that someone put at 135 and they're bolted, to the porch. It's like, what? I don't know. I don't know. I guess I have more trust that people aren't going to just back up their truck and throw it in the back of it. I think people aren't really likely to do that. Something prettier, softer, maybe. My
Did
opinion.
you, Lori, did you price out teak? Like, which to Jen's point, that is usually what you see in a garden.
I have experience with teak and it doesn't last in a park environment. So in my town in Millbury, we had teak benches and those were installed maybe around 2000, and by 2010 they were a wreck. They had all sorts of lichen growing on them. And so they didn't have the longevity that you find with those metal benches. The metal benches can be painted, and as far as the maintenance is concerned, they just do better. I would not go with a teak.
So, oftentimes, at meetings like this, we're presented with wonderful ideas, but then we walk away and say, oh gosh, well, what about a bench here? What about a bench there? Is there time for well, if the group, maybe the group is all about, doing this tonight, but I would kind of prefer to, go to the common, kind of get a feel for where these picnic tables would be. And also, is there a need at the park on either of the parks on 135, Assabet or Ellsworth McAfee? Are there other needs in town for benches? Assabet Park to me looks like it's really, really busy, and I don't know if they need benches. Is there time to do a little more research? Are we all thinking what did I lose you?
I'm here. I think were you talking to Lori?
Well, I'm mostly, I think I'm talking to Rick. Do we have time to, so personally, just for me, I would like to I would like to be able to go to these sites and get a sense of where the benches would be and kind of try to visualize it on site. If other people can do that tonight, I'm perfectly willing to go with the group. But if we could, if we all agree that we'd like to, take a look and also see if there are other places that really need benches in town, and then make a quick decision at our next meeting. But that's just me. I'm anxious to hear from my fellow committee members.
Well, I actually happened to run into Lori when she was on the common looking for the location of the picnic tables and where she was thinking of putting them. And we had a nice conversation. I think somebody else joined us that happened to be passing by. So I'm very comfortable with where she and Scott have what they've considered at this point. I think that there are pluses and minuses for every type of material, color, style. But it is a municipal bench. It's not in your own garden. It's not up at Tower Hill. And as much as I wish Jen was right in that people are better, better than we think, there's nothing to say that something's not going to get tipped over or taken just on a lark. So unfortunately, I think everything has to be bolted down these days.
Yeah, I agree. I think the point of what Lori did here was to try and propose something to continue to improve the look and feel of the downtown. So the point that you may be right, Julian, there may be a need for benches other places, but I think the point of what they're proposing, she and Scott came up with, is a way to continue to work on improving the environment in the downtown area. So putting the benches in front of 4 West Main and in the Common is right in the center of downtown, and that sort of fits that proposal. If in fact people feel we need benches other places in town, I think that's a separate project that would need to be considered, analyzed, and funded, separately. But what I kind of like about this proposal is that it's doing something to continue to improve the downtown. I think I agree also with Fran that, the benches being proposed are the longest lasting, easy to maintain, and for as tacky as it looks, need to be fastened down. I know that, this year at town meeting, John Campbell had to propose new CPA funding for a new sign down at the aqueduct because somebody made off with it, which you wouldn't expect people to have any interest in some of this signage we have around town, but this kind of stuff happens. So I think for what's being proposed here, that's probably the best kind of material to use and the best way to fasten it. And once again, I would think that from our perspective, in trying to improve the downtown, what's being proposed here is kind of right up in that direction. So I'd be in favor of it.
Can I just
Other
make a
comments?
plug for shade? Because sometimes the common is very, there's no shaded spot on it. So if we are going to place benches and picnic tables, wherever we place them, make sure they're in an optimally shady area that otherwise they
Yeah.
just get sat in and used.
That's why that location was chosen, because that's the shadiest location.
How big the pad is now, back there, it's gonna be 3 picnic tables, right? No new benches.
Correct.
So
No
the
benches.
benches are all at 4 West Main Street, and the commons getting 3 picnic tables.
Correct.
And the picnic tables, what are they made out of? Are they,
They are metal, black, square, to match what currently exists. So the wooden picnic tables, once again, don't have longevity. So what we're looking for is picnic tables that are hardy and well-made and will last for multiple years.
it's like one of the benches in the back by there is already cracked where it connects to the leg. I'll have to show Scott because I was wondering if they're still in warranty. But it's black legs with a green top. I was just wondering how big the pad back there is gonna be of concrete. Like, is that whole back area gonna be concrete now?
No.
Or is it just
No,
like
and it
10 by
hasn't-
10?
Scott's gonna make a sketch. So, we were out there today, kind of scoping out the location. So he hasn't sketched it out yet and hasn't obtained any pricing yet. But the idea is to keep it as small as possible, especially from a cost perspective. There are ADA requirements. So there is a requirement for clearance around picnic tables. So that is part of the consideration for the size of the pad. So there needs to be a certain distance between picnic tables and a clearance around them. The idea of
like-
clustering them together is so that if somebody wanted to have like a kid's picnic, birthday party or something like that, then they can have a place where the people are clustered together eating, and then they can do their fun and games on the common itself in the grassy area.
And you said there's a trash bin going there?
Yes.
Yeah. I do agree, like for the ADA, it needs concrete, but I did like the idea of the stone dust because I do think a big concrete pad takes away from the green space back there.
Mm.
So it'd be, before it was done, I'd like, at least I'd like to hear how big that concrete pad is gonna be. Or see the sketch. If we
And the
could.
stone dust is a maintenance because it doesn't stay in place?
Yeah, I mean, it's only good for a certain period of time. Of course, it's difficult to adhere these picnic tables to it, bolt them down when you're talking about a stone dust surfacing. And the grass grows through, needs to be replenished, needs to be rolled. So Scott was very much opposed to that.
I just just real quick, I just was Googling like parks with picnic tables, and I just want to just show you just one that I just saw that, actually one of the pads is ADA compliant and the other 2 are not. So, I mean, this is a big area, but I would imagine that we're talking about something similar to this, right? They're not all they don't all necessarily have to be on the same pad. But this is the one that has the walkway to it, right? The ADA compliant walk. Right? I mean, just as an idea. I just Googled it while you guys were talking. Sorry.
Yeah, of course, Scott is the implementation authority here. So originally the way I had envisioned it is there would be a pathway and then there would be like one picnic table straight ahead, and then there'd be one off to the side and then the other across from that. but from a maintenance perspective, he was not in favor of that.
Well, I
So
do
he
think at some
wanted,
point we have to balance what maintenance is and what aesthetics is. And I
right,
think
and
the
he said,
aesthetics
you
is
know,
something we're really going for.
it's gonna be difficult to mow around those areas and weed whack around those areas, so he would prefer it to be a pad with all 3 picnic tables on it. Than to have it be like separate pads that just have a picnic table on it, like the picture you just showed, Fran.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the town park. It's not like it's somewhere out in the middle of, the backfield. I feel like this is something we should be. If you have to spend a little more time there, that might be a better place to spend it, but I'm not trying to make anybody's life more difficult, but at the same time, everything can't come down to what's the easiest way to maintain it and have it not look nice. It's a nice park. But that's just my 2 cents.
I agree. I would like to look at it. Just see how big that concrete pad is to make sure it doesn't make it look, too industrial back there or too, I don't know, like we're
Yeah,
replacing all the grass.
Non-natural.
Unnatural. Yeah.
because it's not the biggest grassy area back there. It's, a lot of concrete could really change the whole feel of that
Right.
area.
I
Just
think
put
so.
2 picnic tables.
Yeah, maybe just 2.
I like Fran's picture, but I'd also say I don't at 135, the little snack shack and then the little track stack with the picnic tables bolted, I think there's 3 of them bolted together. It's so packed that if I had a kid's birthday party, I wouldn't want them all shoved in on that little porch like that. I would prefer it spread out. So to Fran's picture, I actually like the way that looks better.
Mm.
Spread
Really,
out.
when the
Familiar
comment,
with what you're talking about, 135.
So
what
if
is
you're
that?
at McAfee Park where the ice cream shack is, that their Elements is, or whoever is doing, the snack shack is, on the
Mm.
walkway, how there's a perimeter walkway around the soccer fields. To
Yeah.
the right of the snack shack, there's a truck stack that's flat. That it didn't have anything on it for decades, forever. And then now I think there's 3 picnic tables and 2 Adirondack chairs bolted down to it. It's cute, but the kids used to sit up there and play on the grass and but I don't think I've ever seen a whole group of people go there together. They're more likely to go under the pavilion.
Where
yeah,
you
and
can
From
move
what
the
I can
kids
see.
around. Yeah.
And I don't know how often the common will be used for kids' party area because it was always talked about 135 with the pavilion and the sports is more of the kids' party area. And you've got Assabet Park and that was supposed to be like a memorial, not a memorial, but more of a reflection area in the back with the bricks and the trees. And I don't know, I don't see where they'll be parking and having a kids' party back there. It doesn't seem like the place for it. Like, not saying that people can't do it, but that
Well,
wasn't.
I know that I eat my lunch there and
Yeah.
I do not, I sit in a bench and eat it like I personally would enjoy eating it at a picnic table. So I have seen people in the common doing the same thing. So I imagine that there will be people who will enjoy having picnic tables there. Whether it's a kid's party, whether it's somebody's 60th birthday party, whether it's, 2 friends having lunch together on the common. It's a beautiful space. So it would be nice. I know I, for one, am looking for nice places to sit outside and enjoy nature on my occasional lunch breaks that I get. So I thought the whole idea was to enhance the usage of the common and bring more people to the common. If there is a comfortable place to sit and have lunch or dinner, have a dinner date with your spouse, then why not encourage that?
Put a couple of the cute garden tables back there that really do look like a dinner date. I went to a park like that, like the Common, but it had like this marble chessboard with marble seats. So it was kind of like artsy seating area versus a big concrete pad. They had artsy seating areas.
We could add to that. You could also get like one of those chess boards they have
Yeah.
downtown Falmouth. They have that, like the chessboards there with 2 benches and people can play chess. Perhaps we could consider putting a picnic table at 4 West Main for the kids to sit at. Maybe. I like the benches, but I think a picnic table would be kind of cool over there and you could bolt it down into the dirt. I think. Maybe.
I also wonder if 1, not 3 might be more realistic because the party scenario is not necessarily one likely to happen there, but certainly people wanting to eat lunch it would be a huge boon. And it would bring you together if you all had to sit at the same table, not like your table, my table.
I like the
You
idea of
can't,
less the picnic table,
legally,
but-
you can't do that for ADA reasons. So you would have to provide an ADA option.
Well, that could be the only option. I mean,
Mhm.
one picnic table that's ADA compliant is something. I mean,
the
it
option.
doesn't mean that years from now we can't add more concrete and another picnic table. But there really does, I mean, I always thought the Common was just something to look at, not necessarily to have a lot of function. It was just supposed to be green space in an otherwise busy area of town. But as people start moving that, being able to walk to things, having some place to sit, a picnic table, I think is a good idea. The benches are a good idea, but maybe we just don't need 3.
One
And
table.
use,
Maybe-
and use the money for something else.
A good compromise.
I know that seemed acceptable, Laurie, maybe based on the feedback tonight from the committee. I mean, I'm not sure at this point, the park is now a municipal space. I'm not sure if there's the town common was kind of, it was the work of a lot of townspeople that wanted that to happen, that did a lot of work to make it a reality, and then basically the DPW became responsible for it. So now it is town public space, but there was a lot of public effort that went into making that actually happen. I think a lot of people, rightly so, feel a certain amount of ownership and pride about it and are concerned about what will happen to it over time. So based on some of the comments tonight, maybe a better approach would be to put that AD acceptable path in there and put some concrete down and put in 1 picnic table, get that in there, see what that looks like, and see where to go from there. And then if in fact there's money left over from the approval to in the future do something else with it, either expand that if it looks like picnic table is becoming very popular, we need more of them at that point to do that. Go with the benches.
This money has to be expended by December 31st. So certainly I can talk to Scott about knocking it down to 2 picnic tables. If it's only an ADA picnic table, then that means that there's seats for 3 people. And then there's an open area where nobody can sit, and that's where the wheelchair would go. So it's kind of awkward. But certainly 2 should be able to work there. It really is a large space. So it wouldn't be the option of doing another one later because the money has to be fully expended by December 31st.
Are there different sizes in those picnic tables?
Of course, there are many different options. I was going for a style that matched what currently exists.
Okay. I just didn't know if there was one that would seat 8 comfortably, and that way if you could have 6 people seated and 1 space that is accessible.
I didn't see that configuration in the style that matches the benches that are currently at the common.
Okay.
Lori, I just quickly Googled to see what it looked like because I'm not familiar with that. So is it essentially a tabletop and a bench on one side and the other side doesn't have anything on it? Am I looking at the right kind of a photo, or is it more like maybe that's a hexagon and there's like angles?
It's a 4 square. So it would be a square table
Oh,
with 3 sides. So the ADA one would have 3 sides,
Okay,
and then there would be 1 missing side. So that would accommodate 3 people. So it's not the rectangular table that Fran brought forward.
okay. I was
Okay.
envisioning that.
It's a
Me too.
much smaller 4 square
Okay. So,
for 4 people to sit at.
okay. And you originally thought 3 of those?
Correct.
Hmm.
So I can look at my quote.
oh, 3 squares, 1 ADA
Mm.
square.
Yeah.
Then I might change my mind back and say 3. Oh,
Yeah, I think we were thinking I was thinking something bigger.
me too.
It won't be orange though, will it?
Please.
No, it doesn't look like that. Fran,
But
did you bring that up?
Okay.
Yeah, that's not what I was looking at. Let's see.
So the other 2 are square also? I'm sorry, I think I missed that part of what you were saying, that
Yeah,
detail.
me too.
Okay.
Let me
It'd be good if like there
having
was a
trouble opening.
sketch or some sort of visual of it.
I wonder if it would be possible to like, chalk outline, paint outline what you were thinking space-wise that 3 of them would take up. So we could go and look at that.
If I can open this.
I like that idea, Millie. So we could really get a sense of how that space will change.
Yeah.
I'll bring a
I think we
measuring
Or
need
tape.
flag it.
We need a
Mhm.
field trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
I wonder if too, the people who planned the park, who did all the work to establish it, should be kind of consulted about it, and if they are still in town and they did create that space. So I would like, I feel like it should be more than just the people sitting here who have a crack at.
Like 5 of us
Well,
left.
Amy is one of them. Amy is
Yeah, you-
Amy is definitely one of them, but I think
Common
that is
committee
our
people.
job, Jean. I mean, as the Master Plan Implementation Committee, where we've taken on the responsibility of the revitalization of downtown, this is one of the ideas of helping to do that. So I don't know if Lori does find pictures where it's little four people tables. Maybe we're all thinking, picnic tables like we used to have in our backyards versus
Yeah, I was
what
thinking
it is talking about.
something about 50% bigger for each one of those tables.
Mhm.
So the picnic table with the 4 seats is 4 foot square, and the picnic table that's accessible is 4 by 5 feet.
Well, they're
Is that
tiny.
including the
That's
chair?
not more than a card table. Yeah, that's not more than a
Right.
card table.
Okay.
Okay.
You have
So if you
pictures
had
of
to put a
them?
pad around it, how big is the pad around it?
Like
Maybe
I said, it hasn't been designed yet.
Okay.
Maybe we could see it at the next meeting.
Yeah, I don't know, because we gotta pull the trigger in order to order everything. There's usually a several week turnaround.
Kinda stinks
I
'cause-
suggest we do two tables and we agree tonight.
Well,
Yeah.
wait.
As a
We have
committee, I
until
took the-
December. We have until December to
Oh,
make sure that we spend that money.
But we have to hire a contractor to do the pad. We have to order the furniture, we have to have it installed.
Prior to December?
Well, that's
By
what we were hoping for.
2026.
That's what we were hoping for, is to get it done this fall.
Oh.
Oh my
okay.
gosh. Well, it
It
doesn't
doesn't
have to be done.
until
Huh?
2026. So I would hate to rush a decision sight unseen just to get it in. Like, if we're the committee that's deciding on it, we should be able to see what it looks like. Like, I don't wanna say yes without seeing it. I mean, when we did the town common committee, we had 3 years of meetings and everything was thought out and decided. So I don't know, to have a meeting and say, this is what we want to do, but we don't have a picture of it. And we're gonna do it by December. It just seems rushed.
I can try and find a picture, but
Yeah, Lori, didn't you put up a picture a little while ago that showed the 3 little X's in the back of the common?
yes, and I do have a picture. It's
Yeah.
just at my office. So it's not here. It's printed out at my
Can you bring
office.
it, can you
So
bring
I
up that
could just
picture
email
again
it
of the X?
tomorrow. Huh?
I'm sorry, can you bring up the picture again with the X's?
I gotta open it again
Thank
because
you.
it closed out.
I think if it were a matter of just placing benches, it would be one thing we could reverse if we didn't like once it's put in, but with a concrete pad and bolted down park equipment, it's gonna be really hard to ever change it if there is kind of a public, backlash that people don't like it.
Just to put my name behind it without seeing it. So that pad might be kind of big. It looks like it spans the whole back, almost the whole width.
If we
No,
did it
this is-
that way.
This is just what I had done to show Scott the locations I was thinking about. So this, like I said, it hasn't been designed. This was just for illustration purposes. Where, I could show him so that we could go to the site and look at it together. And also, I sent this to the police chief to see if he would have a problem, from a security standpoint with having the picnic tables tucked towards the back of the park instead of up front where they'd be visible from the street. He didn't have any issue.
Well, and if they had an emergency, they can go down the back of that building. That's a wide enough road, that they could get in there if there was a problem. So there's enough clearance, but I do think now where that blue line is in the back, the garden is larger than what that appears. Obviously, that's winter. I think it's gonna look cool back there. I like it. I like the idea of the 3 tables. Now knowing that they're 4 feet by
Mm-hmm.
they're 4 square, I think put them all back there, all 3.
My concern would be how big the pad is, so how far they're spread out. If you're gonna put a concrete pad on the whole back area.
It's not gonna be on the whole back area.
Well,
Remember,
Lori-
cost is an important consideration. So, even if we wanted to, we wouldn't have the money to put concrete on that whole back area. So it would be the minimal required by law.
Which is what,
Lori, what is a timing consideration if in fact, we decided to discuss this one more time with this committee at the September meeting? I mean, how drastically does that affect the ability to then do the ordering, get the project done before the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, it probably wouldn't be done by the end of the year because our next meeting is the 3rd week of September. So it is unlikely that we could pull the trigger on this.
But the project doesn't
snows, they
have to be
don't-
done to
Yeah, they
get the
don't-
money.
they
It
don't
just has,
plow in the winter. Back there.
Is this
Okay.
ARPA money or is this other money?
It's ARPA
It's
money.
ARPA money. And the money just has to be allocated, probably with a contract by the end of this year. But the project can be done next spring and meet the requirements, is my understanding.
Yeah, they have till 2026 to be constructed.
Right.
So if in fact, if we waited and discussed this one more time at the September meeting, would that give you enough time to then get the contract signed and, at least have the design done? And if in fact it can't be completed for this fall, completed in the spring? I'm just sensing, like I said, there was a lot of public effort put behind putting this project together before it became a town municipal space. And I can understand some of the feedback tonight from people that kind of view this as kind of their, in quotes, park kind of thing. And I think we need to be sensitive to that. So if we could, come up with the design and what it's going to look like, and at least have this committee see it one more time. And then as long as there's enough time to do what's necessary in this calendar year to get the rest of it ordered and in place, I think that would make people feel a lot better, and would sort of go along with the fact that this was originally a bunch of citizens in the town's idea to pull this park off to begin with.
That's
So I'd
fine.
be sensitive to all of that. I don't know. I know you've put some work into this and you're ready to go with it, but once again, like I said, a lot of people put a lot of effort into this just to get this common done in the first place. So, and I know there's not a standing town common committee that reviews any changes to the common anymore. So somehow it's kind of fallen, because we're looking at the downtown, kind of falling with the group of us now to do this. So I don't know. Can we do that, Laura?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Rick. I think that's a sensitive and lovely way to do it. It's getting more people behind it will make the project successful.
Okay, let's bring it up again next time, and hopefully at that point, I think it's a great idea. I think it makes sense for the community. Ultimately, it's a town park, and so, town staff and town employees are responsible for the park now, kind of thing. And so it's got to be done in a way that's reasonable for them to do it. But like I said, there was just so much community input into getting this park done in the first place that in this particular case, it probably makes sense. In the meantime, the benches, at 4 West Main and the rest of that can certainly go ahead. If that can be something to be done this fall, we can do that part.
It's more fiscally responsible to order all of the materials at the same time because of the delivery costs.
Okay.
So if we're gonna delay this project, we'll delay that one as well. And
Okay.
also, it would be the same contractor pouring the pads. So it would make sense, given that it's such a small scale project, to do it simultaneously.
Okay. So let's move on to the downtown streetscape project, and maybe at the same time, Lori, when you're talking about that, you can talk about some of the recent funding that was put forward to some sidewalk improvements in town also that kind of go along with this, because some of those, I think, affect some of the downtown sidewalks we've been talking about for a while. So maybe you can roll those two things together into one update.
Sure. So I'm happy to report that we received 4 proposals in response to our RFP. Those proposals were received from Beta Group, Haley Ward, TEC, and WDA Design Group. I started reviewing the proposals today, and so far so good. It looks like we got some solid responses, so that's good. As far as the sidewalks are concerned, the Board of Selectmen decided to allocate some funds for sidewalk work. Given the very, very short turnaround, the fact that funds need to be committed by December 31st, we were super limited on the sidewalks that could be done. So Scott is working on designs and survey work for, I believe it's the South Street sidewalk. So that would be from Route 20 to Gale Street. So that would be a demolition of the existing sidewalks and redoing them with concrete. There would also be design work for if we were interested in doing decorative streetlights in that location. And then other sidewalks we were talking about are Gale to Monroe. So that was a priority project on the complete streets. Actually, both of those were. And then there's a small gap in the sidewalk on Hudson Street. So right beyond the Trinity Church, the sidewalk ends. And then it picks up again over on the opposite side of the street beyond, I think it's the Centerview Apartments. So it's a short gap of maybe 200 linear feet where there's no sidewalk. So once again, the survey work, there may be the need to get some easements from abutters. But at least some work can be done, and then we can determine if there is sufficient time to do a construction project. So right now we're just design work, and then we'll wait and see to find out how much the costs are and whether it's possible to go out to bid and assign a contract by December 31st. So it's still kind of unclear at this point, but those are the only projects proposed within the downtown location. And then I believe over by the aqueduct, Allen Street. I think that was another one. There was a priority of the selectmen that Scott thought could at least be designed by December 31st. Am I correct, Julianne, about that one?
Yes, definitely Allen Street is a priority. And, you know, since we're doing this a little bit piecemeal, I'm not sure that the amount that has been allocated so far is the total amount that will be allocated. So hope, you know, the intent is to get some sidewalk projects done as soon as we can.
I think that completing that sidewalk down Hudson Street, and also we've talked for quite a while about a sidewalk on Gale Street that would sort of make access from the parking lot up by the park back down towards the common and around to Monroe Street was something we've been talking about for a while. I think that would be a good one to do. And eventually, you know, we always talked about walkability all the way down Hudson Street to the aqueduct and then up Allen Street to East Main and back down around again. So getting that leg done up Allen Street from the aqueduct up to East Main Street, I think would also be important long-term for, I think, some of the improved walkability around the whole section here. But the Hudson Street connection would be important. And like I said, I really think the sidewalk, getting that sidewalk on Gale Street would be very important. So those things play right into the downtown things we've been talking about. So what on the big Blake Street to Pierce Street thing, when do you think you'll choose someone and actually get some engineering work started on that particular project, Laura?
So hoping to select a vendor within the next couple of weeks and have them start in September.
Oh, good. Okay. Any questions about that?
I do have a quick one. On the Gale Street, Monroe Street, which side is the sidewalk going on?
Unclear at this point.
Okay.
The survey work will kind of determine that. There are some pretty significant challenges with the parking lot that's associated with the Assabet Park. Ideally, that should be completely redone. So if the sidewalk were to go in that location, it would be a much bigger project. Definitely couldn't be contracted by December 31st. That would be a big engineering project to figure out how to fix that parking lot.
Just gonna
So
ask you about
chances
that.
are the other side of the street would be more feasible.
Is fixing that parking lot still on the radar for, not fixing, but
Revamp.
redesigning, expanding?
Yeah.
Yeah,
far
I
as-
mean, we talked about that, and both Scott and I think that it definitely needs to be done. The concern is the tight time frame. So it is an absolute priority, but probably not with ARPA funding.
Sure, I meant more along the lines that you're still talking about it.
Okay, let's move on to dam removal. Last I heard about that was between Vinnie and Oars trying to get something going there. I don't know, Laura, did you hear anything more from Vinnie on what's going on with that, like, between him
Yeah.
and Oars?
Vinny was out today. The last I spoke with him about it, there had been no progress made. I did hear from Scott that the cost they've already expended on the design of the dam removal for the reservoir is they've spent 250,000, likely to spend another 50,000, and the project itself is likely to exceed $1 million. So these are not cheap projects, and these are privately owned dams. So this is not something that the town could pay for. We can't use taxpayer money on privately owned property. So I don't know to the degree that we can assist in this endeavor as a town. But
Can-
maybe Oars has some advice.
Well, we know there's a lot of state and federal funding available, so I think the role of the town would be in approaching and talking with with the dam owners in terms of, what they're aware of for dam safety, because that's a big reason to consider doing this, as not only the obsolescence, but also the potential for those dams to fail, and they're not all jurisdictional and under regular inspection. So I think there's just a whole lot of things to talk about. I did send another letter on behalf of the committee after Julianne reached out to me after the last meeting, and Ashley wasn't able to intervene in this because of her job. I did reach out to both Oars and Vinnie and tried to set up a meeting, which we had talked about back in May as kind of a next step. But I didn't hear anything back other than from Oars, who were like, anytime, we're ready, we'd love to talk to you. One thing I think everyone should know is we were working on a river cleanup with Oars to do in September. We're instead going to do, because, the good news is our river is really clean. So we went and inspected the downtown where we used to pull out tires and machine parts and all this stuff every year as part of our regular cleanup. And there's very little there. So I think to our DPW or, our townspeople's credit, we're doing a much better job with refuse disposal. We're not seeing that legacy of continued dumping in the river, which was what we thought we'd expect. We expected it enough to plan an event, and we're not going to do it. But instead, Oars is willing to come and do an educational program, kind of like they did back in February, to which I think our committee would, of course, have a stake in attending, focused on the river health through the downtown area. And at that, we can ask all kinds of questions about dam removal, and also, look at the state of our river and the state of our opportunities for building on that beautiful natural resource as a kind of complement to the work we're doing to bring business to the downtown. So
What-
that's planned for October 5th right now.
October
As far
5th.
as the conservation commission is concerned, I am aware that they do not feel like they have the knowledge to engage with the property owners about dam removal. They just don't have the professional expertise. So probably a more realistic role for the Conservation Commission to play is maybe schedule a meeting where professionals come and explain to property owners what this is, because they just don't. That's not what they do. You know, they're in charge of enforcing the Wetlands Protection Act, as well as the Wetlands Bylaw and the Stormwater Management Bylaw. So they just are feeling like this, or at least this is what has been conveyed to me, that this is not really their realm of expertise.
So-
Well, they have an organization that we, you know, it is their realm of expertise, or correct me if I'm wrong, Jean, but it seems to me also that we should, the next step has to be to figure out who owns these dams. Do the property owners, I think it was mentioned that they might need to not even know that they own it. So who has that information, and then who talks to the property owners? Is it the town administrator? How do we get that information? Isn't that something we need?
We
I mean,
do not currently have that information.
If they
So
don't,
that I know that Vanny was interested in knowing if ORS had that information. I did reach out to the DPW director, and he also does not have that information.
so is it not available, or is it something that
Would
I
it
mean-
be on the adjacent property deed as part of the parcel?
yeah.
That is part of the unknown as of now.
Oh, interesting.
So we are unaware of an entity that has that information.
So
The-
if we
Right.
were to get a hold of the property owners and they didn't want anything done, then we can't do a thing.
Correct.
So maybe that's the starting point, is rather than spend a lot of time on something we may or may not be able to do at all.
Good point.
Well,
It
can-
does seem like we
I
need
thought
to
we
know
don't
who in town
know.
hall would do that. Who would have
I
the
thought we
property
didn't know
records.
who owned. So we didn't know who owned the dams, because it may or may not be the property owner.
Doesn't the assessor's office know who owns what land and property? So somebody must know where the dams are located. So if the
Right.
dam is located at, 123 Main Street, and 123 Main Street is owned by Jen, then, okay, now we have
Right.
connected property but unless we know exactly the location of the dams, you can't look at the assessor's record to figure out who owns it.
Sometimes it takes more than just the town assessors, it's actually going to the registry of deeds and doing some real digging in land. Previous owners and when the land was surveyed last. If you look at even your home, if you go to the registry of deeds and see how many different ways your property lines have moved because somebody has surveyed, or depending on how old your house is.
Mm.
So sometimes it's a little bit more digging than the assessor's office.
But
Good
there must
start.
be a standard way of doing this. I mean, has ORS provided with, is this going to be something, this meeting you're trying to set up, Gene, where ORS could sort of lay out a series of steps that the town would have to do to go from where we are now to the possibility of dam removal at some point in the future? I mean, is it a standard process that other towns have gone through that we just have to learn what it is and who does what? And do we need ORS to sort of give us this cookbook or train us in what we need to do, and then we have some steps to follow up on? Or that's what
I think-
I haven't heard that we have a game plan to follow at this point.
I think the important thing that they would tell us is just, as Millie pointed out, we need to know, first of all, who owns it, and to at least educate them on, their responsibilities as dam owners and the possibilities. ORS is just a watershed organization. They are scientists as well as, people who are building educational, awareness of the river through these communities. So they're not really, this isn't their specialty, but they are a partner. And as they explained it to me, we don't have to partner with them. No town on their rivers that they oversee needs to partner with them, but they inevitably do because they share resources and partner with a lot of different organizations, state, federal, experts in this kind of thing. And I do think, we just, all we can do as the MPIC is go as far as we can go with the exploration of the dam removal. And then I think it's out of our hands. We can't push this process based on, what our committee is intended to do. So it really belongs in the hands, I think, of the property owners to facilitate their cognizance and their ability to, protect the public and do their part to maintain what they own. And so if we have a way to just establish ownership, then we can begin, to work, we saying, this, I guess, the town, it's in the town's interest to make sure that we are taking care of our dams so we don't have a calamity that the town is then going to have to recover from. So I would give it back to town offices to say, their next step would be to establish ownership. And then we can talk with organizations like ORS with, well, what do we do to work with these people? How do we educate them? How do we move projects beyond this point?
So Lori, would that fall back to Vinny to agree that to keep this thing moving, that he'd be responsible for working with whoever the right people are to determine ownership of these dams as the conservation agent? Is he the person in town whose job it would be to figure this out?
Well, right now, there's a work problem. He's very, very busy with the tasks that he already has. So of course, in addition to being the staff liaison to the Conservation Commission, he also works with the Trails Committee and the Open Space Committee. So it will be a daunting project for him to identify the property owners. So he is looking for assistance with that.
Assistance from whom?
What kind of
have we gone to the tax assessor yet? Or the tax appraisal people? I mean, it could be, we know exactly.
So this
Well,
is,
it's not listed, it's not gonna be listed as on your tax, on your assessor's card. I mean, I'm actually right now on the dam removal website from mass.gov. And it's showing where the privately owned, non-jurisdictional dams are in Northborough, but I would need a different map to see what parcel they're sitting on. So I think it just takes, to Lori's point, it takes legwork. And this goes back to our letter to the select board. Is this a priority that the select board wants our town staff to focus on? We've identified it as a priority for the master plan implementation committee, but unless the direction comes from the actual leadership of the community, we can't ask the conservation agent to make it a priority for him, right? So we still have to wait for the select board to determine what are the priorities of the town as it relates to master plan implementation.
And there may be a need to allocate money to hire a consultant to help do this task. So
well, do you
there's
have
that too.
an idea of where these dams are? Because I mean, I'm actually looking on the National Inventory of Dams, and it actually lists quite a bit of information for dams in the Northborough, Middlesex region. And it does get into the owner's names on some of these.
If they're jurisdictional, you'll know the owner.
Jurisdictional.
Yeah, so Allen Street is a jurisdictional dam because it's 6 feet high and, or more than 6 feet high, and it thus has to undergo regular inspection. So we would be able to ascertain the ownership probably through the state on that one dam. The
Yeah,
one that
so if
Aluminum
these
City
dams
could
had
belong to the
inspections,
adjacent properties.
the only dams that have inspections are the ones that are jurisdictional then, is that correct?
Yeah,
So then you would have to know the names of the owners.
yeah, through that
Okay.
paperwork trail.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just want to say it's 10 to 9. I just don't think it's, I mean, I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm doing the same
I
thing
know.
that Millie's doing and
Oh,
Ted was doing, but I don't think that that's what we're charged with. We're just supposed to be trying to help move this to the right places.
Right.
And
If we can't do it now, we
identified that
can't
as
do
the
it.
conservation, right, the conservation agent department, which happens to be one and the same,
Yep.
is the right place, but it's not up to us to decide that this is his priority.
right.
I agree.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah,
I
and
think
I
all we
think
tried to
moving,
do was ascertain the status of the status is right now that nothing is happening with it right now.
right.
Did
And
anyone,
I think we can move it along by working with ORS just as community people, and so that's what we're doing. We're bringing them in. They're going to talk to us more about the river. And I think that will, the more we are focused on it, the more we learn, the more opportunity we will have to bring back to the town to say, now is the time to put money into this.
Yep.
I have a question. I had asked this at a previous meeting and I don't recall reading it in the little newspaper. Sometimes they pile up for a month before I read them. Did anyone actually take the initiative to contact somebody from the little paper and let them know this is something that people should do and sort of inform the public so that someone might actually come to the town and ask about this? Or do we just think people are magically going to find out they have a dam and they have a opportunity with funding available to have it removed and that it's environmentally the right thing to do? Did anyone contact anyone?
Well, like I said,
a
right
free
now,
way to do it?
the Conservation Commission doesn't have the expertise to be able to explain to landowners what the process is for dam removal.
Oh, no, I
So
didn't suggest.
We
No, I didn't
would
suggest
not
conservation.
prepare a press release explaining, come to us and learn.
Oh, no, I wasn't talking about our conservation people. They have volunteer group. No, I meant the ORS people. Did
Okay.
the people who are connected, Jean and the other woman, I forget her name, is connected to ORS. Did you guys go and have them write an article for the little paper? Say, hey, here's something most people don't know about. I mean, that's kind of like a free way to let people know and inform the public. Here's something.
Well, we can invite community advocate to the next educational program.
Hmm.
Might be good.
Yeah.
That's a great
Free
idea.
way. It's a free way for people to be connected to that topic
Mhm.
and have them take the initiative to come forward.
Right.
Rather than put it on the town or say select board, tell somebody else to do something. Maybe that might take too long.
Okay.
Like a quicker way would be a quick article or a Facebook post or something. People in
So
the
I guess-
town.
I guess like Rick said, we're kind of at a stalling point with this, or at least,
Yeah.
wait and see. We're not ready to push Paul in any particular direction. But we can continue to learn as we go and see how this goal might progress in the future.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, we're almost at 9 o'clock here. I guess what I'm gonna, we'll just go through the minutes now and then what I'd like to do is for the next meeting, move this master plan matrix discussion up earlier in the agenda. So we have some time to talk about this. I've been spending quite a bit of time the last week or so going through the matrix, and I've pulled out a number of questions I have about some things that would seem to make sense for us to start to publicize as being important aspects of the plan that haven't gotten any been brought to light yet, and do we want to actually sort of recommend bringing some other things forward kind of thing? I think it'd be a good time to have that discussion. So I'd like to spend a few minutes on that, and I'd encourage people to, between now and the next meeting, go through the matrix, see what's in there, and see if there's anything else you see that we're not doing, especially things where the comment is not yet initiated. If there's anything you see in there that's not yet initiated that you feel, might be something we want to bring forward to get initiated, and how would we do that? Like I said, I
Yep.
found a number of things. I'd also like to talk to you, Lori, maybe offline. There's a number of other recommendations in the master plan that I think would make sense to roll into this joint meeting between the select board and the planning board and the zoning board. When we get that meeting together, that aren't just some of the economic development items. There's a few others in there that would seem to make sense. And so as we kind of talk about how we want to facilitate that meeting, I'd just like to talk to you about a few other things in some of the areas of the master plan that might make sense to bring up at that meeting also.
Sure.
Okay. So why don't we move on to the minutes from the June meeting. I was reading them over today. I have one change I'd like to make. On page 2, in the 4th paragraph, the second sentence says, if 4 West Main Street is considered as a location of the town offices, it currently says it would impact the one catalyst area recommended for downtown revitalization, but there were 3 areas recommended, and this was one of them. So I'd like to change the wording to say if 4 West Main Street is considered as the downtown location for town offices, it would impact one of the catalyst areas recommended for downtown revitalization.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Because like I said, the plan talked about 3 different areas, and this particular area was one of them.
Yep,
Beyond
we
that,
can
are
make
there any
that
other
change.
Are there any other comments or changes to the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Did I hear somebody blurt out a
Second.
second? Thank you. Okay, Julianne,
Aye.
Amy,
Saying I wasn't there.
Millie,
Aye.
did Tracy ever join us or not? I don't see her on here. No. Fran,
Aye.
Jean Cahill,
Abstain.
I vote aye. John,
Aye.
Jen,
Aye.
the minutes are approved as amended. Is there any other business to come before the committee tonight? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Second.
Julianne,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Millie,
Aye.
Fran,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
I vote aye. John,
Aye.
Jen,
Aye.
we are adjourned. Thanks very much, people, and we will get together the 3rd Thursday in September, or whatever that date is.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
everyone.
very
Your
much.